Thank you, Jean, for that beautiful reading. Let me get settled here. Those words are just, I feel like they entered my bones, right? You could be the water, you could be the water. You could be the water. You know, when that poem found its way to me, it was about a year ago. I did not feel like the water. And it was actually around this time, right around end of August, beginning of last September, that the Rainmaker made its way to me in these miraculous ways that poetry and music can find their ways to you. And it was the beginning of the church year. Didn't we all think last year, back in March 2020, that surely we would be able to gather come September, right? And it was also the beginning of the school year. Surely we thought back in the spring, this thing isn't going to last more than a few months. And there we all were, come September, sitting in front of our screens with some hope, but not a lot. We have to remember there wasn't a vaccine anywhere on the horizon there. And I have to tell you that as a parent, this time last year was heartbreak. I know I am not alone in that. And one not need be a parent. One need only qualify as a human to know the heartbreak I am speaking of, just thinking back to it. What else was in the ether? The death of George Floyd, climate crisis, the election. Oh my God, the election, right? Loved ones sick, fear of one another. My kids are not okay. I'm not okay. We are not okay, right? So no, I didn't feel like the water. I didn't feel like the water. I felt like the tired ground, the scorched seed, exhausted and parched. I know you get this. I know you know this. And I was sharing this with a dear colleague of mine last fall. And she said to me, we have to trust that there is water in the well. We have to trust that there are unseen, unimagined reserves deep within. Those words were like balm to my soul. They still are. She's right. She was right and she is right. Wisdom. And when we consider wells, their very purpose are to draw from these unseen deep reserves, right? I am particularly intrigued by wells dug in lands that are devoid of any sign of water. Deserts, for example, Sahara, Death Valley, cracked earth, or sprawling sand dunes, which conceal cool, thirst-quenching waters below. How utterly unexpected, right? And I don't know about you, but I find that image, I find that knowing comforting. It feels really comforting today. But what does happen when the water really does dry up, when the cup is empty? No jelly beans. What happens when we become the scorched seed? Because that is real, right? While we are not where we were last year, we're still not okay. Right? And this might sound awfully dreary, like what a dreary way to begin our time together. I promise you, these were not the words I had planned to first offer you. And this is the raw and real truth that we are living with right now. And that matters. That matters here. That matters here. We are bound up together in this raw and real truth. And I have to tell you, this feels really comforting as well. Not unlike a deep well beneath a desert floor. And I sense this is because it reminds us that we are not alone. We are not alone. And I want you to know I see you and I am with you. That we see you and we are with you. I hope you hear that today. The thing about wells is that they are dug in community. They are tended to in community, and they are drawn from in community. When one thirsts, we pull up more water. When one is quenched and thriving, we tend to the well because we can. And so those Mamuse words could not be more timely. The words Lauren so beautifully sang to us. It is time to lead ourselves back to the well, and this has much to do, I am convinced, with first acknowledging that we are parched and trusting that there is a reserve of well water and well tenders waiting for you here. You need only ask. So our month's theme is possibility, and I can't think of a better symbol for possibility than a well dug in desert lands. The spiritual life is one of searching for wells in dry lands, asking for directions, filling them, drinking from them, sharing them, reconstructing them, believing in their possibility, even in the most dreary of times, the most raw and real of times. That is what I call faith. And what else are we doing here in this community but building and tending to this, our sacred, life-giving well, and calling people to it? Come, drink from it. There is plenty here. I mean, isn't that what church is for? Isn't that what the bigness of church is? I think so. And really, I can't think of a better way to begin this, our year and time together in this wild and tilted time set against the real and raw backdrop of we are not okay, but to ingather water, a water communion ritual. And you might ask, why in the world do we do this? Because in this ritual, we are the water. We are the water. The water represents each of us exactly as we are today. Exactly as we are today. Water that holds the memory of places we love, that holds the grief for places we couldn't get to. Water that holds our joys, our sorrows, our gifts, our needs. Water that holds our story. Water that holds the pain of oppression. Water that holds the hope of reconciliation, the raw and the real. So this glass bowl on the altar in front of this pulpit, this symbolic well we are creating today holds it all. And we begin our church year like this because this is what we need to stay tethered to in the days ahead, that remind us of what we are doing here in this church. Why church? It holds you, and it holds we, and the peoples of this world in all our wild audacity. As Clarissa Pincola Estes writes, "You are welcome and wanted here just as you are.